Flying cars, robot maids, cities floating in the clouds, dinner reduced to a single pill. For over a century, artists, scientists, and dreamers have tried to draw a picture of tomorrow, and almost every single time they got it wrong. Not because they lacked imagination, because the future never arrives the way anyone expects it to. Today, we're going back through 100 years of predictions to see exactly where they went right, where they went hilariously wrong, and what that says about the future we're imagining right now. Around 1900, a French artist named Jean-Marc Coté, along with a few contemporaries, produced a set of postcards imagining daily life in the year 2000. They pictured firemen with mechanical wings soaring toward burning buildings, underwater cities with glass domes, machines doing the farming while people relaxed on the porch, whale-drawn submarines, children being fed knowledge through a machine wired straight into their heads. It's easy to laugh now, but look closer, and there's something eerily right buried in the absurdity. They imagined automation replacing manual labor. They imagined machines doing the tedious work so humans could rest. They even stumbled onto the idea of knowledge being transmitted directly and instantly, which isn't so different from a search engine or an AI assistant answering a question in seconds. They just drew it with gears and wings instead of silicon. By the 1930s, the future got an official showroom, the World's Fair. The 1939 New York World's Fair had an exhibit called Futurama, designed by industrial designer Norman Bell Geddes, imagining the American landscape of 1960, a nation stitched together by 14-lane superhighways, cars that moved themselves at 100 miles an hour, and cities organized into clean, radiant towers surrounded by green space. This one actually landed closer to reality than most. America did build a highway system. Cities did sprawl outward. But the self-driving cars promised for 1960 took another 60 years to even become an early reality, and we're still not fully there. Then came the bomb, and with it, a strange kind of optimism. After World War II, nuclear energy felt less like a weapon and more like a miracle waiting to be unwrapped for peacetime use. Magazine covers promised atomic-powered cars that never needed refueling, atomic vacuum cleaners, atomic-powered airplanes that could stay aloft for years without landing. Ford even built a concept car in 1958 called the Nucleon, designed around a small nuclear reactor instead of an engine. Nobody was drawing smartphones or search bars. They were drawing nuclear toasters. The obsession says a lot about the era, an entire culture trying to make peace with the terrifying power it had just unleashed by imagining it as convenient instead of catastrophic. This is the golden age of what we now call retro future, the aesthetic most people picture instantly when they hear the phrase. Flying cars, robot housekeepers, moving sidewalks connecting every building, meals compressed into a single pill, freeing up time otherwise wasted on cooking. The Jetsons premiered in 1962 and crystallized this entire vision in one show, a future built on the assumption that machines would keep getting bigger, faster, and more physically capable, doing the driving, the cleaning, the cooking. Nobody predicted that the real revolution wouldn't be about bigger machines outside the home. It would be about a tiny chip that fit inside a pocket. By the 80s, the mood shifted from optimism to unease. Films like Blade Runner, released in 1982, imagined the future of 2019 as neon-soaked, rain-slicked, and dominated by mega-corporations. Flying cars were still there, but now paired with pollution, inequality, and constant surveillance instead of comfort and leisure. This was the first era where the imagined future looked less like a promise and more like a warning. And oddly, it's the version that feels closest to emotionally accurate, even if the technology is off. Not the flying cars, the mood. Corporate power everywhere. Advertising following you. Cities that never sleep. Cyberpunk didn't guess the tech right, but it guessed the feeling of hyper-connected modern life. As the internet started creeping into public awareness, the predictions shifted again, this time closer to the truth, if still slightly off. People talked about a coming information superhighway, imagining something like cable TV crossed with a library, where you'd order groceries through your television and video calls would replace long-distance phone bills. They were closer than anyone before them, but even here, almost nobody predicted the scale, that within 20 years, billions of people would carry a device more powerful than a 1990s supercomputer in their pocket, using it constantly for everything all day. Here's the pattern once you zoom out. Almost nobody predicted the internet the way it actually happened. Not really. Not smartphones, not a single device replacing the camera, the map, the letter, the newspaper, the wallet, and the telephone all at once. The imagined future was almost always about bigger, faster, more visible machines, flying cars, robot servants, room-sized computers. The actual future turned out to be about something small and mostly invisible, information moving instantly, folded into a rectangle of glass you carry everywhere. It's not that people in 1900 or 1958 or 1982 were foolish. Every generation draws the future using the tools and obsessions of its present. In the 50s, it was nuclear power, so the future ran on atoms. In the 60s, it was the space race, so the future had rockets and robots. In the 80s, it was the rise of mega-corporations, so the future looked corporate and grim. We're doing the exact same thing right now, just with different tools. Today's predictions are full of AI assistants, virtual reality worlds, and self-driving everything, because those are the technologies exciting us right now. In 50 years, someone will probably watch a video like this one and laugh at what we got wrong. So somewhere out there right now, someone is imagining the year 2075, and they're probably imagining it wrong too.